Three 3-minute rounds were underway. Merey AKSHALOV of Kazakhstan in red, and the Cuban Yasnier LOPEZ in blue.
Well, what a clash this is going to be. Lopez, southpaw fighter, likes to move. Very fluid, but so is the Kazakh. AKSHALOV beat Everton Lopez of Brazil, the world-ranked #1. Lopez had a tough outing against the Mongolian. Munk Erden Uranchipeg. Lopez is going to want to use the ring. Try and counter. AKSHALOV closing it down. Damage to the left eye of Yasnier LOPEZ in that clash yesterday. His team have done a good job of closing that up. AKSHALOV probably looking to drop a right hand on it. See if he can cause problems for the Cuban fighter. Good combination. Right, left, right. AKSHALOV really trying to impose himself here now. Buoyed on by the crowd. Very physical, trying to close down the theatre of operation for the Cuban. And that left eye, problematic already for Lopez.
Well, is he going to call the doctor up? Yes, he is, and that's a big worry for Cuba.
Always in World Championships, part of your strategy has got to be to try and keep yourself fit and well, so that should you make it to the final, you're not going to have these problems. Fortunately, he's allowed to continue, but that's going to be problematic.
Well, what's notable for Lopez, he's actually boxed more rounds than AKSHALOV has. He didn't get a bye in the first round, despite being an Olympic bronze medalist. He just isn't seeded in this tournament, so he had to fight in the round of 64. 15 rounds now he's fought.
Well, AKSHALOV bringing the action now, starting to pressurize Lopez. The Cuban trying to dance, keep out of trouble and work the counter, but this is a strong round for Merey AKSHALOV of Kazakhstan. And AKSHALOV trying to break, but the Cuban hugging.
Well, they walk away at the end of round one, both looking fairly happy with their performance. AKSHALOV, though, of Kazakhstan, just seemed to be a little bit more aggressive in this first round.
Caused problems for Lopez. Lopez probably came into this psychologically disadvantaged because of that damaged eye. Wanted to keep out of trouble, maybe play the long game, but AKSHALOV right on him from the get-go, pressurized early on.
Well, the judges have seen it the way of AKSHALOV. 10-9, all that aggression, that work rate has paid off. And the Cuban, who has indeed fought more rounds to get here, has got to wake up to the task now. He looked magnificent against Uranchipeg in the semi-finals yesterday. He just looks a little lackluster. He gets a big hug from his coach there, who slaps him, saying, come on, wake up, get on with the task. So, Cuba in blue, AKSHALOV of Kazakhstan in red, leading after round one. Oh, that was a brilliant few shots there to get the crowd on their feet.
Yeah, absolutely fiery exchange now. Lopez realizes in this second round he can start to loosen up now. They can manage that eye, and he can get to work doing what he does. So a little bit more aggression from the Cuban. Still shuts his man down. And he gets too close. AKSHALOV just bringing the aggression, stepping up the pace. Very, very aggressive exchange from AKSHALOV. Starting to take control now, the Kazakh. And Lopez holding on. And Lopez struggling, not being allowed to operate. Strategy for the Kazakh to close that ring down. Lopez needs the space to move, needs the space to start slipping, moving off his man, turning him, but he's not being allowed.
Well, AKSHALOV has set off at a cracking pace again. Almost 2 minutes into this second round, and he's still going some. You wonder whether he'll tire or not. No doubt being driven on by the sheer excitement and adrenaline of being in front of his home crowd.
Lopez off target, managing to come inside, but every time he does, it doesn't land squarely. And this hugging at the moment isn't doing him any favors. The shoulder of AKSHALOV, the right shoulder of AKSHALOV going up into the eye of Lopez in the clinches. And he's desperate to try and protect that eye, Lopez. So no nip and tuck, no silky, evasive skills from Lopez today. Seems very off form. Kazakh desperate to break from the clinch. And it all looks very basic from the Cuban, given the performance yesterday, where it was almost a masterclass. Now on his toes, Lopez.
AKSHALOV just won't let him go. Dying seconds, and the Kazakh athlete has once again, for work rate, punches thrown. He's been outstanding. And the Cuban looks tired. He looks right now to be struggling with the sheer work rate of the Kazakh.
Well, much more accurate. The shots were heavier, and AKSHALOV much more on point during that round.
And he just won't leave him alone. AKSHALOV is just continually marching forward.
And of course the Cuban holding him when he gets there to try and slow him down, give him space to move off, and then land some shots when he goes.
But this is how the judges saw it, all in favor of AKSHALOV again. As expected there, he was the busier, the more aggressive, the more dominant, all things the judges are looking for in this 10-point must system. They're shouting AKSHALOV, AKSHALOV in the crowd. Final round then. Will the Kazakhs get another world champion? This men's light welterweight world championship bout, just 3 minutes to go, and AKSHALOV in red for Kazakhstan is in a commanding position after 2 rounds.
Lopez with all the work to do here, he knows it. Worried about the eye, but he's going to have to throw caution to the wind and get to work here. He's not been allowed to fight his own game. AKSHALOV has been right up close and personal right from the get-go. Not a great variation of shots, actually, from AKSHALOV. Happy to power his way in and make good, solid left-right connections. But Lopez just hasn't done enough here. And going to the clinch to close his man down, not really gone in favor, especially with the judges scoring. Needed to be slicker here, Lopez. Needed a little bit of nip and tuck. We're not seeing it. Well, maybe some magic now in the 3rd round. That's what the Cuban is known for. Low guard, the hands are down. Maybe at last Lopez has found his rhythm, but just look at AKSHALOV, right up close, closing the distance, and really making life hard for Lopez. There you see the Lopez of old, dancing, moving off his man, turning. To go into the center of the ring and go toe-to-toe with AKSHALOV, not a great strategy. It's a great finish for Lopez, but I fear it's probably come too late in this bout.
He just looks like a man who could have done with another couple of days rest. It somewhat reminds me of what Barnes had to say a few days ago, saying he came out again the next day in the quarterfinals, still with blurred vision from a hard fight the day before. Lopez just doesn't look ready for this. He's putting up a valiant effort here, 30 seconds to go. But considering the Kazakh is 2 rounds up, I'm afraid it's going to be too little too late again.
Well, he absolutely looks off point, Lopez. We're seeing flashes of that magic, but it's not enough, it's not sustained enough. So trying to move away, move off his man, but look at the confidence of the Kazakh.
That is it, round 3's over. The Cuban raises his arms, but I think we know who have won this. I think 4,000 people in this stadium knows who has won this. Merey AKSHALOV of Kazakhstan. He looked fresh, he looked fit, and extremely fast. And I'm afraid for Lopez, it may well be yet another World Championship silver.
Well, we saw a flash of the Lopez we know in the last part of this round, but to throw his hands up at the end of that, well, he's running east looking for a sunset. On his toes, though, towards the end. Some good exchanges, but really the sheer dominance of AKSHALOV prevalent.
So the gold medalist, the world champion, men's light welterweight, is Merey AKSHALOV of Kazakhstan. All went 9-10 to the Cuban in the final round, but all had seen it the first 2 rounds going to AKSHALOV. AKSHALOV is world champion. The Kazakhs will hear their national anthem again. What? It is Mr. Turmikan Dosmakambatov, President of the National Olympic Committee of the Republic of Kazakhstan, who will be handing out the medals. And Mr. Erdos Janaberganov, world champion of 2005, who is giving out the flowers. Here are the boxers that have made it onto the podium. First of all, receiving the bronze medals, 2 different bronze medals from the semi-finals. Mung Erden Uranchemeg of Mongolia, and also of Brazil, Everton Lopez, who was the #1 seed in the world coming into this World Championship tournament. Receiving the silver medal from Cuba, Yasnier Lopez. He took gold at the recent Republic of Kazakhstan's President's Cup. This time, he has to settle for silver, as he did in the World Championships of 2011. But there's only one world champion, and he comes from Kazakhstan. Listen to the noise. Merey AKSHALOV, Asian champion, now world champion.